Rama asked, "There are they, O sage, who think that this limitless universe exists on all sides. They do not see that it is a mass of consciousness. They see it as it is ordinarily seen, but they do not see that it is changing and is moving towards destruction. In the case of such persons, what method is there to overcome mental distress?" So we're considering certain notions here, and these notions are tied up with the apparent reality of the body and the apparent reality of the world. And really what we're looking at is how we can overcome the distress caused by such notions. Now this question now, just to take it on a purely literal level, I think most people nowadays do relate to the world. They are caught up with the world. They strongly believe in the notion of the world, but nowadays they do see it changing and moving towards destruction. In which case, you need to get out there and do something about it, or at least get on with your recycling and lowering your carbon footprint. But the question goes deeper than that. Vasistha replied, "Before answering that question, one should pose another. Does that person feel that matter is indestructible as matter, and that the body is immortal? Then where is sorrow? If you've got a sense of your own immortality, then you're not going to be giving in to anxieties about your body. This feeling of your own immortality is the indestructibility of consciousness, and is that feeling which we can imbue notions of matter and body with. But if this body is made of its various parts, then surely it will perish, and this latter perspective on the body is more in keeping with the consensus reality that the body is perishable. The point here is that it's not just about having a notion of the body. We've got different kinds of notion about the body, different kinds of notion about the world, and some of these notions are more rewarding than others. I've got a friend who lives on the other side of the country called Janet, and she phones me up now and again. She's in a lot of emotional distress. I'm not sure there's much that I can do for her, and also I'm a little bit wary about being roped into her distress as another excuse for her distress. But she sees the world in very bleak terms. She's in her 50s, and she feels her life's been a disaster. And it's very obvious and apparent how she is fueling that feeling by talking about the state of the world, either on a local level or as it appears through the news. So her perception of her body, her perception of the world are both dismal. Her notions about her body, about her life, about the world are strongly conducive to sorrow and distress. And there isn't actually any point in telling her this, because she just takes it as a criticism. So it's very difficult to know what to say or do. I don't even know if I want to give her the space to perform this exercise, because all she's doing is showing me what she's doing, and she doesn't want me to tell her what she's doing. It's like seeing somebody who's banging their head on a wall, and they don't want you to tell them that they're banging their head on a wall. They're too busy banging their head on a wall. So our notions about ourselves, about the world, have lots of different qualities, and if we can't free ourselves from believing in the reality of our notions, we should at least see what we can do to develop our notions in a wholesome and positive way. If one knows that the self is pure consciousness and not the physical body, then when he dies there is no samsara in his consciousness. So the more that you realize your nature as pure consciousness, the more that you're free from this conviction in the reality of the world appearance. If one's understanding is not thus purified by right understanding or wisdom, it does not remain without the support of samsara. Understanding is the desire for knowledge, and if we haven't pursued that to its end, then we're still going to be caught up in samsara. So if our desire for understanding is strong in us, then that means we're still focused very much on samsara. If, however, he thinks that there's no such thing as consciousness, then he experiences a state which is inertness. And this is very much the case with some people that like to think of themselves as modern and progressive. They don't have anything to do with something as airy-fairy as consciousness. Sweep it under the carpet. Consciousness is awareness, and awareness is that by which everything is known. You need to properly appreciate it. And if you don't, you're in a state of inertness. One may think that the experiences in the embodied state alone are real. Being firmly established in this conviction, he thinks that death is the final end to sorrow. But this is only because of imperfect experience. They who believe in the non-existence of consciousness become inert substances when the body is abandoned, and thus they sink into the impenetrable darkness of ignorance. They, on the other hand, who believe that the world exists as a relative reality, as in a dream, continue to experience this world illusion. Again, whatever notions you've got about reality, about the world, about the body, about consciousness, that becomes your reality. That is your reality. Whether one considers the world to be a permanent reality or a changing phenomenon, there is the experience of pain and pleasure all the same. They who think that the world is a changing but purely material substance, devoid of consciousness, are childish. Have nothing to do with them. Well, we shouldn't have anything to do with such notions anyway. They who realize that bodies exist in consciousness are wise. Salutations to them. They who think that there is intelligence in the body are ignorant. This means assuming the reality of the body as something separate and independent. In other words, thinking that it's not just a notion. It is pure consciousness with the jiva as its body that keeps going up and down in this cosmic space. It's like the waves on the ocean. Whatever that jiva contemplates within itself, that it experiences. And this means whatever notions it identifies with. Just as clouds make different patterns in the sky, and just as waves arise on the surface of the ocean, even so do these worlds appear in the infinite consciousness. The dream city is only the dreamer's mind. It did not even need the cooperating causes, like the building materials, to build it. Even so is this universe. It is pure consciousness and nothing else. It's coming into existence moment to moment, created by our mind. The whole phenomenal universe, as it's presented to us by our senses, is a mental construction. You might believe it's a mental reconstruction, but we've got no basis for distinction between a reconstruction and a construction. We just make that hypothesis. We hypothesize that distinction. We imagine that distinction. They who realize this are free from delusion, from attachment, and from mental distress, while continuing to perform appropriate actions spontaneously in situations in which the stream of life bears along.